Thank you for joining me today. Are you a leader that's living with and impacted by diabetes? Are you experiencing the common, complications of diabetes? Having a hard time managing your weight, your blood sugars all over the map. You're fatigued. You just can't do the things that you used to be able to do. And I won't even go into all the other side effects of diabetes because it just seems to take our life from us. And that's been statistically proven. Well, today, I want you to know I can relate. I'm a type 1 diabetic and I've been living with diabetes for almost 30 years. And today I'm going to share my uncommon diabetic journey. My good friend, Dr. Behruz, the entrepreneur's doctor, is going to interview me. And I'm going to show this interview to you. And basically, Behruz runs the Entrepreneur's Doctor. He's a preventive medicine practitioner and a professional healthcare professional. He has been in the field for over 25 years. And now he's pivoted and he is helping people like me, professionals and patients that have solutions, right, to bring to the world into the health sector in the education marketplace. And he's really been a big part, an advisor and a mentor to me, and how to learn how to navigate these things. And I really want you to know that you got to check out the Entrepreneur Doctor, and the links are in the comments afterwards. But I can't speak highly enough about Behruz and the support that he's given me. And today you're just going to see an interview about my life and how I overcame these common complications and the challenges so I could transform from the common back to uncommon and gain a decade of life, of energy, and of health. So check out his all his links in the comments and description below, and enjoy the interview. I appreciate you joining us today.
Have you ever looked in a mirror and thought to yourself, have I lost my edge? Where did it go? You know, you've been a successful visionary leader, business leader, entrepreneur, a professional, living the uncommon life. I mean, what drove you to entrepreneurship and business and whatever profession you're in? You're a leader in your field. You are living that uncommon life, but for some reason, you're no longer feeling that edge and you're no longer thriving. So my special guest today, he's a dear friend. You know, he's been living with type 1 diabetes for almost 30 years, and he's now on a mission to journey with you, providing uncommon knowledge and experience and routines to unleash your health potential and thrive. So Heath Stone, as I said, he's a dear friend. He lives in Vancouver, Canada, and I've known him for, I think, almost a year now, actually. And he began venturing with me at the Entrepreneur's Doctor. You know, back then I remember doing a series of daily live episodes of the Entrepreneur's Doctor as part of a 90-day challenge. And he came on and did 8 of the episodes with me, speaking about how to thrive with living with diabetes. And then he's been part of various other programs, including the Startup Therapy Summit, the Startup Therapy book, and this is going to be included in that book. And he's also part of my weekly Tribe Talks and Incubator family. So everything I do at the Entrepreneur's Doctor, Heath is part of. So Heath, welcome.
Hey, Behruz, thank you so much. I'm really excited about us, doing this interview together, because I think it's a really important thing that we, as friends, and this journey that we're on together, right? You know me, I'm always saying together we can, that you play a big part in the UD and what we're doing at Uncommon Diabetic Solutions. So thanks for doing this with me and helping us tell both our viewers about the impact and how they can have an uncommon life, an uncommon business. This is a key part of our life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just for a quick disclaimer, just for the both of us, for Heath and I, obviously we're going to be speaking about health issues, potentially business issues. So obviously anything we discuss is information, education, and hopefully a little bit of entertainment only. So please don't treat this as medical advice, legal, business, or any kind of professional advice. Do speak with your licensed physician if you have any questions or concerns. Heath, I want to ask you to just take us back for a moment, back when you felt you lost your edge and what was going on at the time.
Well, Behruz, thanks for asking. I was 25. I was in amazing shape. I was actually working as a Vancouver police officer at the time. And at that age, what's every 25-year-old thing? You know, I am indestructible. I just thought that I could change the world. I was going to save people. I just wanted to help people in everything that I was doing, right? But what ended up happening is that I started with the VPD at 20 years old. I was very fortunate to get on at a young age. I was actually the youngest officer for almost 7 years. But the fact is that at 25, I had a medical procedure done, and it triggered a response in my body that I completely did not expect. It triggered what's called an autoimmune response disorder. And that autoimmune response ultimately attacked my pancreas and killed all the islet cells. And, you know, you as a doctor in preventive medicine, and we've talked a lot about this, a lot of these things are unknown, you know, how our immunity works and why it does what it does in some people and not others. But for me, it was dramatic. So I went from basically, at the time, I'd been on for 5 years. But when I got on, I held the record for the police officer fitness test, the POPAT, to get in. And I was very fit. I was riding the bike on the mountain bike squad. I was doing all kinds of other exciting things in the job. I was very blessed in my career. But I literally lost, well, it's scary to even say it. It makes me a bit emotional, but like 40 pounds in just over a month's period of time. It just shed off of me. And when I was actually in the medical paradigm in Canada, and our medical is one of the best for, you know, keeping it cheap for us. And I ended up going in, and my doctors were testing me for all kinds of things because I just had a physical, you know, 6 months earlier, before the medical procedure that I had done, and I was fit as a fiddle. Anyways, they're testing me for all kinds of other bugs and itises, as you know, and I then had a friend who was actually a naturopath, and she said, "Heath, you have diabetes." I went, "I already tested for that. They did all of that stuff. Had my A1C done." They said, "Heath, you're drinking like a fish. You're peeing as fast as it's going in. You're shedding weight like crazy. Your eyesight's becoming blurry. You know," and she just went through the list. "This is classic diabetes. Tell your doctor to run an HbA1c, and they will know it." I phoned up the doctor, and she says, "Okay, Heath, we'll redo that." Well, the blood test comes in. She phones me at 6 o'clock in the morning because I'm at home. I'm now on sick leave because I've just become so weak. And she says my A1C, or my blood sugar, is at 47. So, Beirut, can you tell me what 47 means?
Oh, that's probably like 10 times almost what it should be. I don't know how much.
Exactly. Long and short, the reason for the weight loss, and they had to get me in hospital. And that was a story unto itself, but it changed my life. It changed me from going from a strong, energetic guy to this weak and frail young man that I literally thought I was going to die. And the truth was, my doctor that day told me to get into the hospital. She then said, "Stop. Your immunity is so low due to the blood sugar being so high. I don't know if the hospital's the right place. Give me 5 minutes." She called me back and said, "Yep, they don't want you in the hospital right now. They want you to come to my clinic, and then we're going to do that." So I said, "Okay." My wife drives me to the SkyTrain, the subway equivalent from where you are. And I get on the subway on my own with an A1C at 47. And I had no idea, right? She thought I was being driven in. Take that. I phone up my partner. He picks me up in the police car. He drives me the 5 blocks to the doctor's clinic. And I get in there. I sit down, I'm just exhausted. The doctor comes out to meet me. I get up from my chair to walk, I collapse, and I go into a coma. I went into diabetic coma. So I was very lucky that it happened where it did. And so that's my journey and how I ended up into diabetes. It was very dramatic, but I think for us, for the viewers to understand, it doesn't matter if you're a type 1, if you're a type 2, if you're a pre-diabetic with insulin resistance, the consequences are basically the same. It's very painful.
Heath, I mean, wow, what a story. And I just want to get a bit more about what those early days were like before you decided to really change your life and lifestyle. Like, what were those first few, I don't know, days, weeks, months like living with type 1?
Well, like you said, I was 198% body fat before this whole thing happened. I was fit. I was strong. Unfortunately, when I went into the coma, I was not. I was weak. I was frail. I was exhausted. My organs were actually failing. They literally told me that I would have died if I hadn't come into the hospital that day. It was that close. My organs were shutting down. And it really was a mental, it hit every aspect of my body. It hit me physically. It hit me mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. I honestly thought I was on my way to meet my maker. So I can't say any more emphatically than that this is a truly indiscriminate health condition that doesn't care who we are. If you mismanage it, it will kill you, period.
You know, the challenge that I find when I have, people I know, whether it's work or socially, that live with any kind of diabetes, most people feel like I can just take the meds, I can just take the insulin, I'll control my blood sugar, and it's fine. I'll manage it, I'll keep going, getting on with my life, because that's the easier, it's not easy, but it's the easier thing to do. But you're different, you are unique. And I guess just before you made this change, I guess what I'm trying to get at, what were you looking for? What were your aspirations at that moment in time? You're now diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. This is not what you wanted. You were living a different life beforehand. What were you hoping to get back to, and what actually spurred the change? When did you decide enough is enough?
Beirut, it actually was dramatic. At that time, if someone asked me what you were afraid of, Heath, I would have said only probably one thing: needles. I thought that was ironic. So my nurse comes into my room and says, "We're taking you off IV. You're good now. You're balanced. Your independent management of diabetes begins today, and the nurse wants to see you." So I'm in hospital for a good week getting fixed based on because how messed up I was. So I go to see the diabetes nurse down in St. Paul's Hospital. Amazing experience there. They are so good. But the point was, I walked in the room and she said, "Heath, your life as you know it is over. It will never be the same." And I went, "What do you mean?" She said, "You can't do what you used to do." I looked at her and I said, unfortunately, I said, "What the fuck?" "What do you mean?" I don't know if I can say that, but I'm going to say it anyways. That's the truth. And that's what happened. I said, "Don't tell me what I can't do. I'm 25. I'm indestructible." And she said, "Have you looked in the mirror?" And it really kicked me right, where it hurts. And I found out really quickly that no matter how strong my will was, no matter how strong I thought I was mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, diabetes, it knocked me down. And I in my book that I'm writing right now, I call it the year of the Mad Hatter. At the end of the day, I was freaking pissed. I couldn't believe it. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I worked out like a fiend. I was eating good food. I was doing what everybody said was the right thing to do. Why me? Right? And that's what I said earlier in our chat already. It doesn't care. Right? It doesn't care where you're at. It doesn't care where I was at. It doesn't care. We either deal with it or we will be in a world of pain, and it will kill you. And unfortunately, the common diabetic experiences weight gain and weight management issues. They lose their eyesight. They lose limbs. Literally, 70% of all amputations are related to diabetes. Globally, that's 30. Every 30 seconds, a diabetic is losing a limb in this world. In the United States alone, 73,000 a year lose their leg. So if you're pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic, type 1. That's just a simple example of if you mismanage it, what diabetes is going to do to you. So I guess to answer your question, my life before was I could do anything. I ran, I climbed mountains, I rode bikes, you name it, I skied, extreme everything. And now I'm being told by my doctors and by family, you can't do that anymore. You got to stop. You got to stop. And I began a slow slide. I got in control because who I was, mentally strong, etc. And I got into control, and I had what's called a honeymoon period, and I was able to hold it really tight. But after a couple of years, it began to pay and take its toll on me. And I just lost it. That's the truth. I lost it, and I began a slow slide. I lost my career because I decided that health, and I had to leave policing. Gave me a huge blessing though, and I went into becoming a serial entrepreneur. And that's where, we've worked together, Beirut and other people in this for almost 30 years of doing it. And I was really blessed financially, time-wise. I could set my schedule, all kinds of things. But diabetes never left. And ultimately, I slowly began this little slide of mismanaging and that. And I just ended up in a place, looked in the mirror and I went, who is this man? Just destroyed me, right? I was 35 pounds overweight. I was in my mid-40s. And I had gone through this, 15 plus year slide that I thought I was okay. The doctors even would say, you're doing fine. It's not that bad. You just got to get a little more disciplined on your food intake, or, you just got to manage the insulin tighter. Why don't we just try a little bit of metformin with your insulin? We've never done that before, but let's try that. And there's try, but that means you're not doing. If you're trying, you're either doing or you're not. And so it just was a slow slide there, and it was really disappointing.
Heath, I just want to share a parallel story just briefly, if I may, and I've shared this with you before. Everything you just described reminds me of my dad's experience when he was diagnosed. He had type 2 diabetes. And when he'd done everything right, just like you, he was fit, he was eating healthier than anyone on the planet that I know. And he was always telling others, in the family, like, what are you doing? Look after yourself. And then everyone else somehow made it through, but he was the one that suddenly became type 2 diabetic. And he was asking his doctor, like, what happened? And they're like, sorry, you were taking this, well, it could be multiple reasons, but most likely you were taking this pill for your blood pressure, and unfortunately one of the side effects is it can elevate your sugar levels. And obviously it doesn't necessarily cause you, but if you have a tendency to get diabetes, is going to push you over the edge. He was mad. He was extremely angry, and he was thinking, I'm taking control over my life. That moment that it's a split-second decision. He made that decision. He said, I'm taking back control. And he went all in with a healthier lifestyle. He changed. He did the same thing as you. He shifted his career. He moved country. He went to the Mediterranean to live that Mediterranean lifestyle. And suddenly, no meds, nothing. He was back to healthy, blood sugar levels, thank God. I mean, something else wiped him out, but that's a different story. I guess it's all about that decision, isn't it? And making that decision. I'm curious. I just want to hear from you in your own words. Like, if you were speaking to your 25, 30-year-old self right now, what would you love to share with them?
Well, just based on your father first, before we answer that, it's something that's really important. We all have to go to that place where enough's enough, right? Where what you just said with your dad, where he made that critical decision. It's where we, on my journey of discovery, came to that place where I had to change my language to I can do something and I will do something to I must do something. And that must is because how many of us don't do what we need? Do you ever notice that we seem to always do what we want? That's why it's so critical. That moment for your father, for me, was I must. I looked at the man in the mirror, and that man in the mirror, I didn't even know who he was. I wanted to get back a decade or more of my life. my doctor at the point was saying, Heath, you're now in an unhealthy state, right? You've slowly slid. You've got to do this. If not, and I got all the things I just talked about, 2 times higher chance of heart attack and stroke just because you have diabetes, period. Your cholesterol, your eyesight's going to disappear. You can't do anything if you can't see, right? And it went on with the list of complications. And this is not an if, this is the common journey of diabetes. So that leads to your point of what would I tell my decade younger self when I was in the mirror? Seize your ideal form of life. And that starts with being accountable for my health. Asking questions. Our doctors, as you know, are amazingly important parts of our life as a diabetic. When you're living with chronic disease of any kind, we need to have our doctors. We need advice and expertise we don't have. But they are very good advisors. At the end of the day, I had to get to a place where I said, I am taking control. I am going to go and find out what's going to be done and look at the pros and the cons and make a decision for me on what it is. And that created a journey. And that's what I would tell the 35-year-old is don't procrastinate, because your life's already running at double time. The stats say that Heath's going to live 15 years shorter than the undiabetic version of me. So my time's going tick, tick. I'm 53 now. And I look at it going, great. Average life expectancy of a type 1 diabetic is between 66 and 75. That's real freaking truth right there. So you got a choice. If I'm going to be common, or am I going to be uncommon? Rare, exceptional, extraordinary. Am I going to change those routines and those habits? And that's what I tell the 35-year-old is go, don't wait, because you don't know if you're going to get that complication. We don't know if the pill or the whatever is going to fix it. But I can take action and work on my mindset, work with my diet, work on a proper exercise routine. And the big one, believe it or not, that most people forget, which I did, which increases stress, is not giving myself rest, enough recovery time. And these are the 4 pillars that are really critical to building the foundations of health for ourselves. So that's what I tell the 35-year-old. Do you want the foundations of health? Or you just want to be the fast way Freddy? The fast food Freddy, sorry. But if you're taking the easy road, easy doesn't mean right. Easy doesn't mean better. That's much I can tell you. And it doesn't need to be hard. It just needs to be looking for solutions that will give you uncommon results. And it's small little tweaks and changes that I found out on my 30-year journey that have revolutionized my life. That I've been able to go from 35 pounds overweight to at 53, there's not many 20 and 30-year-olds in the gym that will outdo me. I'm running half marathons. I'm week-long hikes in the Rockies with a 100-pound backpack. There's no medical around, right? That type of stuff. Because I've learned the routines. I've learned from experts. I got into proximity of people that can mentor me, not just coach me, because they've walked the miles. So that's what I would give my 35-year-old self an input.
That's absolutely important, Heath. I mean, in terms of mentorship with someone who's walked the walk, but is also skilled at mentoring you, that's a whole different ball game. And I think you're great at this. And what actually you and I connected on, I remember when you were coming onto the 90-day challenge, was how our 4 pillars just matched. I'm a health expert, right? With 25 years of experience. You're a type 1 diabetic with almost 25, if not more, years of experience as someone who's lived it, breathed it, and educated yourself in not only diabetes, but how to overcome that with what's I can see behind you on the wall with these 4 pillars. But what I want to get at here actually and share for our audience watching and listening to this and reading it in the book as well, is that sure, it may seem hard. Sure, it may be hard to take on these 4 pillars, take on these lifestyle changes. But what you've developed, Heath, is a way to make it fun, engaging, to make it simple, and incorporate it in your life. And I think that's what you bring to the table, so that actually when you lay out your options in front of you, doing this is actually the easy way to go. It shouldn't be the hard option.
Yes.
But it's just understanding that and trying it out and testing it. Just give yourself 30 days, just try it out. If you don't like it, that's fine. But if you don't, you will regret not having at least tried, I think. And that's what I would emphasize with you. And I just want to ask you this question, Heath, specifically. Of all of these things that you've studied, you've experimented, you're a human guinea pig, you've tried everything, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you spent a lot of money and years learning all of this stuff, and now you're digesting it. What do you feel, let's say one of each of these 4 pillars, what are the needle movers?
Well, I think the first thing, obviously, and we talk about it, the pillar 1 is our mindset. It's our intention. It's the relationship with ourselves. Our belief, ultimately, and our meanings we put on things drive our feelings. Feelings dictate our quality of life. And then those emotions drive our motion. So, and you've heard me talk about this a lot on different episodes, but the real truth is, it's realizing that I am capable. I'm able. I can turn the probable into possible, right? And that was the big thing for me, is that together we can. I can journey with you. You're going to be around other diabetics that have walked it in our programs. And we will together change our, what's on my shirt. I love this shirt. Our should, our could, and our woulds into did. It's about the small little steps and a mindset that people will go, oh, it's the straw that broke the camel's back is the story. Well, hold it, stop. The straw that broke the camel's back was the last straw. People miss that. For me, as an example, it was 45 years of putting straws on the camel's back, right? And that last straw was when I would already been diagnosed. You'd think I would have figured that out at 25. Unfortunately not. I was in denial, and then I went. But at 45, my enough hit. That last straw was, Heath, if you don't change, you're going to have a heart attack. Heath, you're going to have a stroke. Heath. And the list went on. And I decided to take the fear and change it and embrace it and say, okay, what can I do about it? I can change this first. Then I began the journey into my hydration and nutrition. And we're not talking about, my word for diet is die with a T. I eat, and I eat a lot, and I eat good. I don't suffer. There's no sacrifice. And I mean, I intermittent fast. I do all kinds of different things that the doctors go, you do what? How do you do that? You can't do that. You're type 1. Well, guess what? I have figured out how. I can take 30 years and in 90 days empower you to have knowledge that took me 30 years to get. That's the benefit of our foundations program with these pillars. Same with exercise. It's not having to go and do extreme workouts. It's literally moving your body, because our muscles are actually, when you look at the science, they're the energy chargers. They actually what charge our whole system. We're electromagnetic beings, right? And that creates energy. Movement creates motion. Motion is energy. And everything in life is about that energy. That's what drives our health. And then the last one is obviously recovery, because you got to break it down to build it up. You got to take your heart rate and get it to go beyond what it currently is. And that's a whole discussion on its own. But the point is, if you don't stretch, you don't grow. Pain is our partner in growth. It's going to be uncomfortable because we all want to just stay with what we know, but that means we're not learning. And I had to get to that place. And that's when I hit it. It didn't matter. I created reasons that were so big. I wanted to be around for my children. I want to see my grandson. I'm a grandpa now. I love it. Right? I want to have energy to be, I always joke, this is what my son gave me.
most
jacked grandpa.
Oh, jacked.
Right?
I love it.
I want to be around. I want to be playing and hockey and do it. That's a choice. I can do that. You can do that. We can do that. Together we can. So that's the key part. Are you ready and willing to make a choice to transform your life, to move away from the common life of a diabetic that ends in an early death, and hopefully not with all the other complications of amputation, blindness, etc. along the way? Or do you want to be an uncommon diabetic that learns how to use these 4 pillars to begin transformation and to literally become an uncommon diabetic, doing the things that, quite honestly, my doctor says I'm in the 0.01% of health of undiabetic, undisabled people. I chuckle that they say I'm disabled. Get that. Can you imagine? But that is the key part. And an example, if I might share with you, we just had a gentleman in our group last week. He's been now doing the program for 1 month. He came on and he was sitting in the chair on the first session, literally exhausted. His blood pressure so high that day he had to go into the hospital. He was struggling. He's overweight. I can go with the list of things, all the symptoms I'm talking about. He's already on the road to multiples of them. We went through, did an assessment, had a chat with him, and we tweaked, didn't change, tweaked just a few things in each of these things. One thing, just bears what you said, we gave one thing in each of the pillars to change. And within that 1 week, his blood sugar was within range. His blood pressure dropped. Now it's not fixed, it's been a journey. That was week 1. Then he's now at an average, he just lost last week 8 pounds. So this is a type 2 that's moving to a type 1 that he's just, because he's already was on insulin as well. Last week, 4 days, no insulin. And he was in the green zone all week. So that to me is the type of results that we want to do and to create for you and for anybody that wants to transform their life. I get ranting there, didn't I?
No, but I loved it. And as I was listening to you, Heath, can you sign me up? I'm serious. I'm not diabetic, but I could be pre-diabetic, with my weight and stress levels and lack of sleep and overworking. Sign me up, please. I'm serious. I would love to be your client. However, having said that, obviously, again, just as we said up top, Heath is not a medical professional. He's not a dietitian, but he's got 30 years of lived experience. And he collaborates with people who have the qualifications and all of that, if you need qualifications. Obviously, anything you follow, and I'm a physician here, anything you follow through people like Heath and elsewhere, obviously do it with the support of your licensed doctor. It can be dangerous if you don't. And someone with type 2 diabetes, as Heath was saying, they may get to the point where they cannot control it through lifestyle changes and medications if they're not looking after those things, and then you end up needing medications and insulin. Keep going under the care of your doctor. It's dangerous not to.
Yes.
These things, I saw it in my dad, I've seen it in many other patients. Implementing lifestyle medicine approaches are the first line of treatment and prevention of diabetes. The only reason we can't do it is because in the health system, we don't have the time and the resources to spend with each individual patient at the level that Heath can work with you, mentoring you side by side as a fellow person living and thriving with diabetes. So I think don't look at someone like Heath. I'm saying this as a physician, guys. Don't look at someone like Heath as the physician expert treating you as a top-down approach. No. Heath is your friend, he's your guide, he's your mentor, he's your buddy. He's been there, done that, and he can guide you to what has worked for him, what's not worked for him, alongside your conventional medical care. Does that sound okay, Heath? Does that agree with you?
Oh, no, thank you for that, because it's a really good point to clarify, because this, well, it's actually with all of them. One, to be involved and to participate in our program. As a diabetic, the very first thing we're talking about is who is on your team. Your GP, your endocrinologist. We provide in our program certified nutritionists, we provide certified trainers, all diabetes trained. We provide 2 live sessions a week, but we also, every session, we'll talk about what's happened in the week, but then we immediately say, okay, sounds great. Here's what I did in that circumstance. Now go and get it approved by your doctor. So it takes a team. The old adage we've always heard, it takes a village to raise a child. It is no different here in this circumstance. To transform your life, you need to have your doctors, your specialists, etc. Because most people have multiple comorbidity complications with diabetes. We're talking weight, we're talking blood pressure, I can go on with the list, kidney, fatty liver. So I am not a doctor. I have a lot of knowledge, as Beiruz has said, and we've had many deep discussions. My own doctor says I should have been a doctor, but the truth is I am not. I'm just a diabetic that's going to walk alongside you, and I share my experience. That's it, and what's happened in my life. And then I'll say that you need to be careful about right now, doctor, or be careful on this, that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you bringing it up. It's really critical that you realize that it's about together we can, and putting that holistic team together that's going to meet your needs. That's all that matters. What's the result you want? What are those reasons you want it? And then what are the routines we can use to create those results? Because it's always the routines.
And I love how you talk about that R3 method in the Startup Therapy book, but you've just mentioned it there. It is the success formula. Look, I just want to kind of touch on one thing. I love how you went from being a police officer in Vancouver, one of my favorite places that I have yet to visit. So I'm waiting for that with Heath. And you went into entrepreneurship. We'll dive into that in a moment for various reasons. You went through this scary moment in your life. You went into a coma, and then you came out the other side realizing enough is enough. And not only did you take on these principles that you've been learning along the way, you've been trying and tweaking them and refining them along the way, then you decided to actually say, look, I want to help people at scale. I want to share my knowledge and experience and walk hand in hand, side by side, together we can, as you say, supporting other people like you to avoid all of the 30 years of learning and speed up that learning process, but also work with them on a one-to-one level, mentoring them. And I'm just curious, can you just share a bit more about how you turned that into a business, and what would that look like for me if I come to you now at Uncommon Diabetic and I want to sign up? What would I get?
Thanks, Beiruz. That's a great question. Well, the first thing I'm going to say, and this applies to anybody in any moment in time, for any form of business, we get paid for bringing value and providing a solution to a problem or pain. That's it. So my pain has been diabetes, and that pain isn't going away. I'm a type 1, so it is my mantle, I guess you could say. If you're a type 2 or pre-diabetic, it's a degenerative condition. So therefore, we can help regenerate your body and help it along. And again, as Beiruz said, it's about your doctor and working with the team. But we really need to identify where those key pain points are. Once we know that, we can provide a solution to it. So what I can bring you is almost 30 years of expertise. I've literally traveled the world looking at all kinds of solutions, and it ultimately led to these 4 pillars. And we dived deep into them over the 90 days, the 3 months that we worked together. You're getting 2 sessions live a week. You have, we provide you with an app that actually is an accountability app where it will allow you to count your carbs. You take a picture of your food, it'll tell you what the makeup is. It then helps you with your nutrition, your tracking, your blood testing. These are key, critical success factors in any form of diabetes. I don't care if you're type 2, and a lot of our students are going, but my doctor says I only need to test once a week or once a month even. I was like, well, if you don't measure something, you're not able to manage it. You've heard that in business, in any form of education. So just that little tweak gave them better information. So they started to see patterns of what certain types of food did to them. Oh, when they ate it this time versus that time, what it did to them. And from that data, they were able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And from it, we find that unique and personalized routine for you. This isn't about me. You're not doing it my way. My diabetes is mine. Your diabetes is yours. But We want to focus in on your pain and find the solution for it. And I've seen, I don't want to say almost everything, but I have failed a lot, guys, girls. I have tried so many things. I've had to pick myself up and off the ground and go, okay, that was a good lesson. What a fantastic adventure in learning that one was. Right? I still make mistakes. I forget to take a bolus at meal because I'm so excited about the conversation or whatever it would be. And then I have to recover. I have to rebalance. I have to adjust. But guess what? I know how. I've learned how to do that. I've learned how to manage and recover because life happens, guys, girls. It just happens. So we just got to be able to create those routines and really dig in. So the answer in a long-winded way, Beirut put into short, let's assess where we're at now. Once we know where we are, right, we can decide where we want to go. Because if we don't know where we are, we're just lost. Once we know that, the truth, and sometimes it hurts, then we can say, this is where I'm going and why I'm going to go there. Then we create that map for you, and then we begin walking it out one step at a time. It's about consistency. It's about one step, little tweaks, and those little changes add up to uncommon and big results.
Appreciate it, Heath. And just for the benefit of your audience, my audience, the reader, where can we find out more?
Well, I've talked a lot, obviously, today, Beirut, about the health and the consequences and the pain that all of the people are going through. And I think that's a really thing, just to summarize this up. You can find solutions to whatever your pain is at uncommondiabetic.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram under Uncommon Diabetic. And you know what? You may have found us on Facebook through some of our ads as well. And if you've clicked one of our ads, I want to thank you for that you're reaching out and asking questions and seeking answers. And the difference of what we're going to give you, it's education and it's training. And there's lots of it out there. What makes us unique and uncommon is it's mentoring with diabetics, helping diabetics. So it's not just me. I am the Uncommon Diabetic, and I am wanting and will be your mentor. But we're going to have group transformative learning because you know things that you're going to be able to share with me, with the group. And then there's going to be other people within that group that you're going to learn and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And it will revolutionize your life. That's where I got the slogan, together we can. Because I don't know what I don't know. The first step to change is realizing that. And that the penny drops and realize, I need to improve. I need to change. And that's some of the stuff that we'll journey together on. But ultimately, if you have clicked that ad and you're here watching this video with Beirut and I, go back to Messenger, type in, I want to talk. And what I'll give you is a free health strategy session with me, myself. We will actually talk about you. We'll take 30 to 45 minutes and lay out a small little map for you so that you can move forward, whether you choose to work with me or not. But we'll define whether you're a great fit for the UD Foundations program and whether I'm a good fit for you. But what I got to tell you is you need to get into proximity because the people you hang with is what you're going to become. If you do what you've always done, you will get what you've always got. And all I can say is, if I had known this at 25, 35, 45, my life would have been completely different. What's possible for you if you say yes? Because what you say yes to actually just said what you said no to. And if you say yes to you and yes to that next step forward, that's all you got to do. The Chinese have a proverb that says that the 10,000-mile journey starts and ends with the first step. That's action. Your life's reality is a direct response to the dreams you have that you take action on. So that's my summary. Let's talk. go back to Messenger, put in Let's Talk. We'll send you a link to book a free consultation, free health strategy session to develop a plan for you. I really want to thank you for your time today. At the end of the day, uncommondiabetic.com and Uncommon Diabetic on all the socials. We're looking forward to the opportunity to work with you to transform your life away from all those common complications that diabetes is going to bring you to living your uncommon diabetic life.